The Old Testament reading from the lectionary is the same reading that the synod reading and themes highlighted for today. The gospel reading that was read, reading from the lectionary, and the same reading that the synod themes and reading highlighted for today. The theme that I'm using is different from what they suggest, but I've said to you many times before that we don't necessarily have to follow the theme that was set. And because it is Transfiguration Sunday, and because Jesus was turning his face to Jerusalem, I used the theme, departure time, go on. Departure time, go on. So the dramatic event of the transfiguration of Jesus Christ that we read in Luke, also in Matthew and Mark, it marks a major turning point for Jesus Christ. By this time, Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem, to the cross at Calvary. At Caesarea Philippi, a couple days before, I think it is in Matthew passage, Transfiguration story comes right after Caesarea Philippi. There we see Jesus facing one problem, dealing with one question. There we see him trying to find out if there was anyone who would recognize him for who and what he was. So, who do people say I am? Various answers given. He turned to them, looked them straight in the face, and he said, what about you? Who do you say I am? Peter, always the spokesman, he spoke up. The Messiah, the Son of the living God. So we have seen that question triumphantly answered by Peter. But then there was an even greater question coming up than that, which Jesus had to solve before he set out on his last journey, his departure from Jerusalem. So I give you a couple take home today. One, seeking confirmation. He had to make sure, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that what he was doing in going to Jerusalem to face the cross was what his Father wanted him to do. He had to make certain that it was indeed God's will that he should go on to the cross. So Jesus went up to Mount Hermon to ask God, am I doing your will in setting my face to Jerusalem. You remember we sung in the second verse of that beautiful communion hymn. For me it was in the garden he prayed, not my will, but thine be done. But thine be done. Is it your will? He knew that's the mission and how the mission would end. But as a human being, is it really your will? You know, that is a question he was asking in the loneliness of the slopes of Mount Hermon. And you know, brothers and sisters, it is a question that each of us have to ask ourselves every day. Whatever I am doing, is it your will, Lord? Remember in the garden, he said, nevertheless, not my will, but let your will be done. We call it the Gethsemane prayer. And we also call it the prayer of relinquishment. So I imagine Jesus going up to Mount Hermon. And if this lovely song was around at the time he was doing that, he would be singing it all the way up to Mount Hermon. Thy way, not mine, O Lord. However dark it be, lead me by thine own hand. Choose out the path for me. I dare not choose my lot. I would not if I might. Choose thou for me, my God. So shall I walk aright. And the song ended, not mine the choice in things great or small. Be thou my guide, my strength, my wisdom, and my all. It is a song that you and I should join Jesus in singing every morning when we wake up. Thy way, not mine, O Lord. Every decision of life that needs to be made is a song that we need to sing. Thy way, not mine. Not mine the choice, O Lord. So take home number one, seeking confirmation. Take home number two, receiving confirmation. Confirmation that is doing the right thing came in two ways. Two confirmation. Confirmation number one, there on the mountain top, you read it in Luke, two great figures appeared to Jesus. Who are they again? Moses and who? Moses and Elijah. And it's the Luke account of the transfiguration tells us that Moses and Elijah spoke with Jesus. Spoke with Jesus about what? Look at your order of worship at the cover. From both the Revised Standard and the New International Version, it tells us what they were talking to Jesus about. Let's read it. Two men, Moses and Elijah, appeared in the glorious splendor, talking with Jesus. And listen to the next part. they spoke about his departure, which he was about to bring to fulfillment at Jerusalem. What were they talking to him about? His departure, which was going to be accomplished. Verse 31 of St. Luke. The word which is used for departure in the Greek language is very significant. It is the word exodus, D-O-S, E-X-O-D-O-S, which, brothers and sisters, is the exact same word in English as the word Exodus, E-X-O-D, the book of Exodus. Not speaking from the book of Exodus, but that's a joint passage for Transfiguration Sunday. I only want to draw the word to your attention that it means the departure. So in Jewish thought, these two figures, Moses and Elijah, they always stood for certain important things. Moses, what he stood for, anybody? Anybody, Moses? The law. Moses was the greatest of all the lawgivers. He was supremely and uniquely the man who brought God's law, and we read it in Exodus, to the people. Then Elijah, who was he? Greatest. Not just a prophet, the greatest of all the prophets. In him, the voice of God spoke with unique directness to the people. These two men, therefore, and this context is very important, these two men were considered to be what some call the twin peaks of Israel's religious history. They came to Jesus at Mount Hermon. Very important, isn't it? Came to Jesus at Mount Hermon as he was setting out on his departure, onto his greatest adventure into the unknown, as he was seeking confirmation. They told him to go on. That's what they were telling him. Go on. Go on, Jesus. You are on the right track. You are doing the right thing that God the Father sent you into the world to do. So in them all history rose up and pointed to Jesus Christ. And in him the laws and the prophets will be fulfilled. You remember one time Jesus said, I do not come to destroy the law or the prophets, but to fulfill them. You remember that? He was going to fulfill them right there on the cross at Calvary. The greatest then of the lawgivers and the greatest of the prophets recognized Jesus as the one of whom they had dreamt and the one whom they had foretold as the coming Messiah. Their appearance was a signal confirmation to Jesus Christ to go on. To do what? So then the greatest human figures witnessed to Jesus that he was on the right track, on the right way, and to go on his Exodus journey to Jerusalem and to Calvary. So my eyes have been sticking a little bit this morning to the notes because this glasses broke last week. And I haven't gotten back the new one yet. It's done and, well, not ready because I would have gotten it back. So I have to look closer down here. Do you understand? All right. So, confirmation number one came from those two great figures representing the laws and the prophets of old. Confirmation number two. So not only did the greatest lawgiver and the greatest of the prophets assure Jesus he was doing the right thing, but the very voice of God, his Father, the very voice of God, his Father, came through the clouds. You remember any other time the voice of God came through the clouds to Jesus? Who remember? You? Anyone here in the children's corner? You say yes, somebody say yes. When? And I think I hear the word, you know. It started with B. What was it? It's what? Baptism. The word came from God the Father through the clouds. Through the clouds, telling him he was on the right way. All the gospel writers speak about the bright cloud which overshadowed them. That cloud was part of Israel's history. And in the Psalm you read that too, that was read this morning. All through that history, the bright cloud stood for what is called the Shekinah, the glory of the Almighty God. In Exodus, the book of Exodus, we read of the pillar of cloud which was to lead the people of God on their way in the day, Exodus 13. And out of that same cloud came the voice of the divine majesty, the God of all gods, setting his seal and the approval on Jesus, his son. At that moment, God joined Moses and Elijah in their chorus. Go on. Go on. You came to do it. I will be with you to the end. Go on. So in that moment, Jesus' prayer was answered. He knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that he had to go on to make his departure. Anyone here, anyone ever had a struggle with a decision to make and you got some confirmation? Anybody? Put up hands. Don't be afraid. Put up hands. Amen. I wouldn't say almost every hand, but a lot of hands went up. And sometimes you went ahead and did, and even after that you get the confirmation. Many Sundays you'd have heard me say up here, something or the other, whether it is devotion, something or the other, give me confirmation that this is what I'm to preach today. And I get confirmation also that this is what I am to preach today. But let me share one or two confirmation of departures from different charges that I have served. You know, in November gone, I served 45 years of ministry. 5 charges. And I'm not saying that ministers might not have served 5 charges. But see the HR there, do your research tomorrow morning at the office and tell me if I don't have a record. 5 charges without doing under 8 years in any one of them. Never did under 8 years. Goshen, 9 years. Portmore, 8 years and 3 months. Mount Olivet, Spalding, 8 years and 6 months. Trinidad, Church of Scotland, 9 years and 8 months. Sister Bev, you know what is coming up at the end of this month, right? She always reminds me. At the end of this month, I have done the most years that I've done in any charge. 10 years. Right here at Kingsgate. 10 years. But listen to this. When the church called me, they commissioned me at a synod in St. Paul in Montego Bay to go to Trinidad. And when they were having the farewell service at Spalding Church, there was a confirmation of that. The preacher who preached the sermon, his sermon was the title, The Macedonian Call. Come over and help us. There was another confirmation in that service. Go on, the Master calls you. Go on, the Master calls you. Go on. I can't remember anything more. But you see, that song was written by Claudette's father. I think some of you might have a book that she wrote some recitation and songs in that were done by his father. He wrote that specially for Claudette, Kerry, Sheena, and myself when we got the call to go to Trinidad. He came there to that service, he sang it himself, better than how I was singing. And he played his mount organ, so in between he was playing his mount organ also. You know something? I used to play mount organ a lot, you know. I don't to play it again anyway. But that was confirmation to go on to Trinidad. So when I was to leave Trinidad to come here, I got confirmation again. I came here a year before. By that time I was talking on Zoom to elders. And after I went back from coming here, Sister Rose, who was then the congregational secretary, wrote the letter of call. She would remember it took a little while to reply, because I was really seeking confirmation. The truth is, I was struggling with the many things that I had to give up to come back here. But I wanted to come to give at least the last 5 years of service. That time I was 60-year-old, retired 65. I wanted to come back to give the last 5 years at least to my home church, the United Church in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Claudette wanted to come back to give some of his final years of service to his country, to our country. But we're struggling. And we saw different things that were kind of pointing the way to come. Until one morning, one of our devotional books says, we can't forget this. You cannot plant banana in Alaska, but you can surely do so in Jamaica. We put our pen and everything together and wrote to Sister Rose and said, I am available for April 1, 2015, and in bracket I put no fooling. For you know, April 1 is All Fool's Day. And we came. But there's another one I want to share. I want to share the one from Portmore because it has a link with today. The one from Portmore, we're going to Cayman for our first synod over there. We're in the departure. You see the word departure comes up again. We're in the departure lounge. And a nice stately lady from Mount Olivet Charge came and said, Rev, I have a message for you from Mount Olivet. What's the message? Mount Olivet Charge has asked me to tell you that they want you to be their minister. And I kind of laughed it off in a sense. I said, no, I'm not ready to leave Portmore yet. So we're coming back again, we're in the departure lounge, and she came back to me. What must I tell the people, Rev? But I told you already. Tell them I'm not ready to leave Portmore yet. You know, in a long conversation with somebody not too long ago, was at Portmore in those days, and he live overseas now. He said, you know, Rev, when you left Portmore, it was not time for you to go, and Portmore has not recovered from it yet. I don't know if it's true, he told me that. And many other persons confirming what he said, including Mr. Fraser. Where is he? All right. So here what happened. I don't know what caused me to say to the person, pick up the phone, you can write your letter now. And the letter came, I was going on vacation. I said to the board, I got this call from Mount Olivet Church. I have not said yes or no as yet. I'm going on, Claudette and myself going on prayer and fasting during my vacation, and when we come back, we'll give you an answer. Very early in the prayer and fasting, we're using our devotional guide. And the devotional guide was going to start a little series on some of the topics in the book of Exodus. In the book of what? Exodus. Remember we said Exodus means the departure. And I took my pen right away and I wrote to them and said, such and such a date, I will be able to begin. Confirmation. Not my way, Lord. But how does that now relate to what I'm saying here at King's Gate today? Because, you know, there's been talking around the place, little by little, of my own departure from King's Gate Church. And so the confirmation is in this very passage with the word departure again. Exodus and the word departure that was used at Portmore. Well, I don't know when, but it sounds as though, and that's why I'm giving the heads up, that my departure date from this charge is nearer than me and you might be thinking. All right? So, I'm not saying that. Confirmation. He sought confirmation, Jesus. He got confirmation from the two great leaders of old, Moses and Elijah. He got confirmation from his own father, with the voice coming through the cloud. But there's one more thing I have to say, not confirmation. The third or fourth take home, the third one, the commissioning. Some of you is C6 now, no? C6? You pass, say 9 subjects. Might be 8 or 9, you pass with what, 1? So you're on a cloud 9. Eh? You're on cloud 9. You're on a mountaintop experience. You don't want to come down. Graduation comes with a high school, colleges, university, other institution that you graduate from. You're on a cloud 9 and do not want to come down at all. You get a new job, or your first job. You're on cloud 9 and you don't want to come down. You get a promotion, a big promotion. You're on cloud 9. You have a week of prayer and fasting. You are on a cloud 9 mountain top experience and don't want to come down. You go to Ash Wednesday Day of Fellowship. And the worship is so lovely and beautiful, we end up on cloud 9. And we don't want to come down. So Peter, James, and John, they were in fact on cloud 9. Because the Bible said the cloud overshadowed them. They were on cloud 9 on a spiritual mountaintop experience. They didn't want to come down. They said, but boss, we can make 3 tents up here, you know. One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. And the boss said to them, no. And I said, go at all. And I said, go. You have to go back down the valley. And they must be saying, but boss, with all them gunshot we are flying around in the valley, who want to go back down there? And Lord, you know, with the drought coming up and all the water cut off that will come, who want to go back down that valley? Thank God some of the roads are being patched out now. All right, but so many other things. No, Lord, I don't want to go back down there, son. And Jesus said, yes, you must go back. Why? Jesus said, down in the valley below is where the mission field is. Not up here on this mountaintop in the clouds. That's where the mission field is. You must go. Remember, he was getting the word from Moses and Elijah and God the Father, go on. He's now saying to the disciples, you must go on back down to the valley. The mission field is down there. As we read, or as we'll sing, the hungry must be fed. And all of those kind of things. The mission field is down here. The work of Jesus never ended at Calvary or Easter Sunday morning. The mission field is down here. But it's not only the mission field is down here. The evangelism field is down here also. The songwriter said, there are souls to rescue. There are souls to save. Go back down to the valley. Down in the valley with the master, I go, I follow. And I think Jesus was saying to them, you know, when I was coming up the mountain, I was singing the song, what's the song again? Thy way not mine, O Lord, however dark it might be. I want you to go down in the valley. And you are going to sing while you are going down into the valley. To the work, I must go. Let us all stand, brothers and sisters, and let us join Peter, James, and John in singing to the work, I must go. And anybody here this morning, anybody who want to come and talk to Jesus, remember we always at the altar. One of the meaning of the altar is a meeting place between God and man. You want to come and talk to him about that mission field. You want to come and talk to him about the evangelism field. I am not going to talk on your behalf this morning. You come and talk to the Lord. And if you want to talk to the Lord, you have never committed your life to him, and you want to talk to him and say, Lord, I am sorry for my sins. I confess, I surrender to you. Come and talk. And Elena, you can find our beautiful thing there, prayer at the end of this song. So let us all stand as we sing, brothers and sisters.